Hello and welcome. It is time for a new DLC in Crusader Kings 2, but before we get to see the DLC, we obviously get to see the patch notes, and we're going to read through them. I have not really read the patch notes this time. This is the longest patch notes. These are the longest patch notes they've ever done, so it's going to be pretty kind of intensive stuff. But I have been reading the dev diaries. I have a good idea of what's going to be going through it. I have a fair idea of most mechanics in the game, so we should be able to see what kind of stuff we've got. We'll look for what kind of stuff we're going to get in the DLC itself, what stuff is going to be useful for mods, that sort of thing. Anyway, let's start with expansion features. Now, I believe expansion features are what you get if you buy the DLC. If you do not buy the DLC, you will not get these features. I believe that's how it works. So, China screen. So China is now an off-map power accessible through a new button near the minimap. Now let's talk about modding. That's going to be a huge kind of thing for modding. Or at least it's going to be it might not be huge, but it's going to be usable by mods. And it's been confirmed that you can do it without, I think it's been confirmed that you can do it without having to have the DLC. So I could see a few mods making use of this for like nations that aren't necessarily part of the mod directly, like aren't necessarily something the mod needs to concentrate on, but are something that affects it in some way. You can have something that isn't a playable character that will still affect your game. I could see mods using that in different ways, like just one that I've thought of off the top of my head. You can have it so the Warhammer mod, you know how you've got all the Chaos Gods and things, you could have them as off-map powers. You could have things going into them if they affect you in some way. I think that could be cool. That could be cool. I'm not sure exactly how it works in exact detail, but I could see ways where you could twist this mechanic to be used for different things, and I think that could be cool. Okay, the status and policy of China affects their behavior and how you interact with them. Beware an expansionist China. Okay, that is pretty meaningless. The Chinese dynasties and history present throughout all the bookmarks. Yeah, again, meaningless. Basically all they're saying is China will exist through all the bookmarks. Woo. Tributes and boons. Send the Emperor tribute in form of eunuchs, concubines, and more in order to gain his grace. Okay. So you see there's the interaction. If we go back to our Chaos Gods example, you could give them sacrifices, and you would gain some sort of grace from them. Like, you could see how you could twist it. Spend grace to receive powerful boons, siege engines, blah de blah de blah de blah. You get grace, it's new kind of mana that you can spend doing whatever you want to do. Okay. Flavor and immersion. While playing in the East, you will feel the presence of China through new flavor events and interactions. Great, like those. Beware ambitious adventurers spilling out of the East, such as rebel generals, displaced imperial princes, and Jurgen raiders. So you are going to have people attacking from China, so they're going to be like I imagine just constant kind of presence of like adventurers and things, that sort of thing. Maybe they'll be similar to rebels, but they'll always appear from the same side, presumably. And if China has a certain feeling, then there'll be more of them or less of them, I guess is what we're going with that. Okay. Numerous new China-themed artifacts to add to your collection. The Art of War, yeah. There's more artifacts to collect, which is good because there aren't really that many artifacts in the game, and they don't really do very much. Or they're overpowered and do a lot. So, it's good that they're adding some more stuff to that system and not just leaving it. So, hostile actions. So you can disregard the Emperor's opinion and raid China for instant rewards. So I imagine it's going to be in the same kind of screen as the off-power screen. The off-map power, you'll be able to go to China and say, okay, I want to perform a raid, and depending on certain things, it'll tell you how well you do, maybe. But if you have a negative opinion if the Emperor has a negative opinion of you, I assume he'll, hit back. Invade China and put your dynasty on the Dragon Throne. So it says they're an off-map power, but you can invade China? I wonder how that works. It must be an event-based thing, possibly. Anyway, interesting to think about. Revised Silk Road. Many more Silk Road paths. It now branches all through India, Tarim, Tibet, and reaches as far as Jerusalem. Fight to claim counties containing Silk Road trade posts and reap massive monetary benefits. Construct new Silk Road buildings to reap other benefits than purely monetary ones. And I believe it's also saying that this is a little bit dynamic, so the different paths that the Silk Road can take, it now means that, say one path has a lot of war on it or something, I think that would then mean that more trade would go through other paths. I think that's how it works. Or if you destroy like trade posts along the way, you can push it along other paths. I think that's how it works. Not 100%, we need to check in game for that one. The patch notes aren't 100% clear, but basically that's the concept. The Silk Road is now something you can interact with rather than just being, oh, this is on Silk Road, I can build a trade post here and get some money. New playable religion. So, you get Bon Pagan, so it's a pagan religion, so it's a fusion between unreformed and reformed pagans. So it offers unique possibilities. Interested to see what that is. Taoist. So, collection of ancient traditions from China. With many administrative advantages, this religion is perfect for players who enjoy playing tall. Playing tall, if you don't know, playing wide is kind of the blobbing, taking over lots and lots and lots of land. Playing tall is like, I'm going to have one province, I'm going to just move, or like a very small number of provinces, and I'm going to upgrade them and be a very strong, but very small kind of power. That's kind of playing tall. It's like a building. You either have a wide foundation, or you have, or you can go like for a very tall tower kind of thing. Yeah, playing tall is really bad in Crusader Kings. Like it's not a good strategy in any way, shape, or form. At least until up to this patch, it's not a good strategy because expanding, you get more land, you get more troops. Your troops you can then snowball and get into more and more and more things. I guess playing tall is more of an RPing kind of thing, so not more a min-maxing kind of thing. Anyway, so you can do that. It's cool that it's there. I'm not sure what exactly it offers. Administrative advantages would tell me like you get some stewardship, or you get some more money or something like that. Or maybe the buildings are better. I'm not sure. Anyway, Casus Belli. There is a new Casus Belli called Expansion, Revised Tributary System. New permanent tributary states that also provide you with soldiers in addition to... it should just be gold. I don't think golden. So that's cool. Tributaries kind of suck right now. They're just awful. So you get a tributary and it's like, hey, we're going to provide you troops. But you've just killed their entire army to make them a tributary, presumably. So that's not great. Well, yeah, you can call them into wars, I believe, right now, and you can get gold. But if you've just taken over the land, they have no men and they have no gold. So that's fine, you have to wait a little bit to get your reward. However, the problem with that is that you then don't you don't get anything from it. Because if the ruler dies, they stop being a tributary. It doesn't work. It's not very good. I think, is it their ruler or your ruler? I think it's their ruler. It could be your ruler. Either way, the point still stands. It's not very good. But the new tributary one that's talking about here is like, if you get a permanent tributary state, that makes tributaries a lot more, of a good proposition. You don't necessarily need to, administer the land yourself. It doesn't count towards your vassal limits. But you get men from them, you get gold from them. So it's maybe a better way. Maybe that would go in with the playing tall. So if you can control a very small state, but have a lot of tributaries around you that basically provide you men and gold, that could be a cool idea. You know, I like that. Okay. Many new CBs specifically tailored for the early game, such as Border Dispute, Ducal Conquest, and Forced Vassalization. Great. More CBs is great, because the game right now, and if you're playing as certain countries, you're just going to have like a really bad time. If you're playing as Christian nation, you're just going to have a really bad time with CBs. You're going to have to wait for your fabricate claims. You're going to have to do a lot more of the other stuff. If you want to do a warring kind of person there, you kind of want to change religion or change to heresy or something. But, you know, more CBs is good. I like it. Anyway, additional CBs for larger nations without many options, such as Great Conquest and de jure duchy claims. Again, fantastic, absolutely fantastic that there are more CBs for larger nations, because it can get into the bit where it's like, I'm an empire, I control half the world, but I'm going to have to take the rest over by single conquest wars, one at a time. You know, being able to take a little bit more, that's a little bit better. I think I like that. Rally points. So, rally points can now be placed to allow easy management of your levies in wartime. Your troops will automatically move and merge at destinations you define. Great. And rally points for navies. Absolutely fantastic. Rally points for navies isn't that useful if you want to pick up people, because ideally you don't want your navies moving. You want to put the men on the boats and then get the boats moving. But the rally points for armies is much more useful, because there's quite often you're like, well, I just want to move them over here every time. Like, I just want to move my armies into, like, say, the center of your country, and then I want to walk out with my large army, my death stack, and go and kill things. Rally points, just good quality of life stuff. New artifacts and ways to get them. Compose a book. So you can compose a book, and I believe what this one does is it's like you can have your character, based on their personality, write a book, and there are apparently a ton of these different types of books, and then these can be passed down, and your people below, like your descendants, would be able to get these books and get a little bit of your knowledge. Kind of cool. I like it. It's interesting to see how strong that is. There are a lot of artifacts that just make the game far too easy in terms of stats, although stats don't actually matter as much as people think they do. But, you know, you could end up with, like, overpowered characters in a way. Anyway, search for a smith. Send word for a smith to forge your new set of weapons, armor, jewelry. I like it. There's more. They're trying to connect more things through, so you're able to carry on your like line and have like some actual things to be like, this, I got this from my say my character took over all of Britain, and then he forged this he got this blacksmith to forge this armor, and this is, you know, the armor of my family. You got a little history, you got a little RP you could go in there. You know, there's some stuff. Anyway, free features. So, added Tibet as a new playable region. Now, what I'm going to point out about this, yes, they added it as a new playable region. However, if we scroll up, new playable religions. So you do not get the religions, you just get the region. Okay. They also added in a bunch of new provinces and mountain passes and things. Basically, what they did is they took the side of the map that had nothing in it and put stuff in it. It added an empire title, yep, all that kind of stuff. They're just putting more and more stuff in here. They added a new Zoroastrian heresy. People will like that quite a lot. Added game rules for controlling siege assaults. Interesting. So I assume that could be like, you can say, I always rule assaults, so if someone else is sitting there, I just want to go on it or something. Or maybe you can turn them off entirely. So you could say, actually, I don't want siege assaults to be in my multiplayer game because it makes the game a little bit too easy. Or I don't want them to be in my single player game because I feel like it makes wars too quick or something. Or you could turn them on because you like them. I don't know. I use assaults quite a lot. It could be interesting playing a game without one, where you can't just be like, well, I'm going to blitz this country down, because you actually have to sit there and siege. It gives a little bit more benefit to fort level, because you can build that up a little bit, and they're going to be stuck there sieging for ages. You can do other stuff. I don't know. I like it. Some of this does seem to be more multiplayer stuff. So siege events you can turn off. Siege events are kind of just annoying. I could see turning them off. I could see defenders only definitely is like, that's them saying, okay, some people want to play a more fort-based game where you can have the defenders getting good siege events that basically allow them to hold. If you have high enough fort level, you can effectively hold off attackers unless they can get reinforcements to their troops. All that sort of stuff. That is cool. Game rule for multiplayer assassinations. Yeah. I could see you turning that off. So in a multiplayer game, you say, instead of doing the honor system, no, we're not going to kill each other, you just turn off the ability for that to happen. Fair enough. Multiplayer invasion CBs. Again, it's quite easy to wipe out another player with those. I could see that. Third-party claims. So I'm not entirely sure what that's going to mean. Third-party claims, it probably means like if you're pressing someone else's claim, you could turn it off. Probably to stop things like if somebody had a claim on their kingdom, you could invite them to your court and then press a claim on the kingdom. Like, it might be a bit strong, so if you want to turn it off, you can turn it off. Anyway, it's good that there are now more options in the game rules. I like it. Added decisions to form the Knights of St. Anthony and the Knights of St. Adi. Just flavor. Added the Assyrian culture and some historical Assyrian characters. That's cool. Tweaked the Nestorian holy sites. I have no idea what that's going to change. And they added a Manchean holy site, so they're probably just moving them around so they're a little bit more actually placed, as opposed to just randomly stuck in there. Added some different types of festivals, so it seems like they're fleshing out the religions over on that side of the map a little bit more, which is good, because some of them were a little bit lacking, because basically that side of the map didn't have a lot of love, which is nice. So they added a holy order for them, they added a head of religion, so they're just, again, buffing that side of the map, making it more interesting. artifacts can now be destroyed from the treasury screen. That's interesting. I don't necessarily know why you would do that if you're min-maxing, but for RP reasons, you could see that sort of thing. It's like, yeah, you could definitely see scenarios where you'd be like, well, no, I want to destroy that artifact. It's not, you know, it's not something I want to be carrying on this character anymore. You could see that. Okay, I like that there's an option. People want to do it, so it's nice that they put it in. You now receive a notification when receiving a new artifact. Or when an artifact you should have received was destroyed because you already had one. Good. That's just kind of things that you should have in there. Honorary title called Teacher. Teachers become the default educators of children. Absolutely fantastic. I always forget to change the educator because it's just so much. It's so much kind of micromanaging, and it makes little to no difference for each child. But if you can just say like, this is the teacher, they're just going to be the educator of all children. That would be good. You can say like, okay, I'm going to have the most learned man in my kingdom be educator of the children. It works well. I like that these are all in the free features as well. Armies now use whichever flank leader has the best siege modifier for determining the leader bonus to sieges and the best movement speed flank modifier for determining the movement speed. Now, this is actually just brilliant. It's a good quality of life change. What you had to do before is you had to put them in the center because it would always use the center one. Now you can have like an organizer or a siege leader. You don't need to worry about which position they're in. You don't have to switch them before you do things. That's good. It's just a quality of life change. Increase the number of counties and baronies in the tower and basement area from 17 to 32. Should make it more interesting to play there. Yes, it should. Increase the number of overall holding slots. Well, yeah, you'd hope so. If it's gone from 17 to 32, definitely. Non-Jain and Buddhist monastic orders now get a new rank 1 power that gives a chance for their wards to gain attribute points during their education, and upon reaching adulthood, a chance to remove a wicked trait or gain a pious one. So if you're being educated by monks, you can actually get rid of some like bad education traits. That seems good. Yeah. So if you could send if you see your child going down a bad path, you could send them to the monks. That would then allow them to, you know, that would allow them to get better, allow them to be a better like character in theory, or you know, a character with less negative traits. I don't know. For RP stuff, that's also fantastic. The target of a tributary war now receives an event where they can offer peace right at the beginning of the war. Only weak realms are likely to do this. That's really good. So basically what it says is you don't actually have to do a tributary war. You can just say, okay, I'm a giant empire, you're a one province person, I don't want to take your land, I don't have to deal with it. If you pay me money and you give me men, I'm not going to fight you. That's kind of cool. You could see that as being a very reasonable kind of thing. It's kind of the, you know, it is kind of the thing that happened a lot, where you'd get like a large nation saying, pay us tribute, or, you know, face your doom, basically. That's kind of where it's at. There are now 3 tiers of kinslaying based on how close to the person you killed was. Okay, the closer the relation, the bigger the punishment. So, you get kinslayer, which is siblings, parents, children. Any direct ancestor or descendant. Familial kinslayer, aunts, uncles, cousins, nieces, nephews. And then you get dynastic kinslayer. So that's good, because actually, quite often you're like, well, this person's kind of related to me. Like, but I don't want to get kinslayer because they're, you know, you'd get the huge negative. But you could be like, oh, I'll take a small negative on it. Yeah, people won't be happy, but they're not going to be as mad. It's not like you killed your son or something, so that's fair. Okay, Muslims are exempt from gaining kinslayer traits and will only get the traits if the death is public knowledge. And you'll only get the traits if the death is public knowledge. Well, it's good that you only get the traits if death is public knowledge. Why are Muslims exempt from gaining the kinslayer traits? Maybe it was just a common thing in history for them, and it wasn't as, like, you weren't so much a pariah if you did it? I don't know, maybe. Unlocked the Charlemagne culture conversion events, as those cultures are also present in the old god's start date. Okay, that's neat. Basically what they're saying here is they're taking some stuff that was DLC features and moving them into free features because they're kind of a part of the game now. That's good. The golden hand, the iron hand, and the prosthetic leg modifiers are now artifacts. They cannot be gifted or inherited. Fair enough. Map update of the Middle East. Yeah, because it was boring as hell. but now it's interesting. They've added new duchies. The Syrian desert now exists to restrict county placement and army movement. That's interesting. Like, so there's now a desert that you have to deal with. So that's cool. Moved and reshaped most provinces in the Middle East. Yeah, okay. And all the way to the Indian border, which is cool because India was also kind of it was kind of off to the side. It was an interesting place. It just didn't feel like connected to the rest of the game. Now it does. They added new counties. They renamed several counties, presumably because they've now split things up into smaller places. The equip button is no longer disabled if a slot is filled. Clicking it will now replace whatever's in that slot. Makes sense. When dying, the game will now ensure that your heir has the same items equipped that you did, if possible. Good. Equipped artifacts no longer have a chance of being destroyed on succession, except if there is no dynastic heir. Okay, so equipped artifacts don't get destroyed on succession. So if you're using them, they don't get destroyed. Unless it goes to someone who's not of that dynasty. Okay, so you can't force it. Say you were trying to angle for an item, and you were killing off people until it eventually defaulted back to you. You can't just do that because it might get destroyed. Okay. The Has Guardian icon on a character now takes you to the Guardian's character page if clicked. Good. Leading Troops icon now takes you to the unit they're leading. Good. Just good changes. The Council action icon on a character now pans to the province they're taking the action in. Again, absolutely fine. Good change. When a landed character is selected, their realm will now be highlighted on the map, similar to how CB targets are highlighted. Good. That's actually a really nice change. So instead of having to select the little bits of land and go, okay, so they have this bit of land, they have this bit of land, they have this bit of land, you can just be like, okay, click on character, look at land. That's good. If you click the current selected character again, the game will now pan to the location. Again, fantastic. When assigning a proselytize job action, the map colouring will be different if the province is of the wrong religion, or if the ruler is an independent ruler rather than... let me move along here. Rather than one of your provinces. Good. You can now arrange marriage on behalf of your landed children and grandchildren. Yes, fantastic. That is fantastic. They will always accept your marriage proposals. Both of these features are only usable if they are your vassals or below, or have been rulers for at most 10 years. So what it's saying is, if you've got a son, he's got some land, it's not in your territory, and he's not ruled for 10 years, you can choose who he marries. But after 10 years, the game will do it itself to stop you basically gaming the system. That's real good. Your children and grandchildren now have a checkbox on their character page that can be used to prevent them getting married by AI. Good, I like that. But they can get married by event or similar. What that's saying is they didn't want to go through all the events and change everything, but that makes sense, because all of that's a lot to change. Useful ensuring your landed relatives don't get into bad marriages. Like arranging marriage on their behalf, this can only be used if your vassals below, or if they have been rulers for at most 10 years. Good. Added an option to switch between grey wastelands and wastelands showing terrain. I like that. It means you don't have to have all the grey bits on the map. You can make it look a little bit nicer. Added an option to have wastelands be coloured by neighbouring realm if a single realm controls more than 2 out of 3 of bordering provinces. That's really nice. It's going to make the map look a lot nicer. I think that's good change. Okay, so that's all the free features, and that's all the expansion features. So expansion, only DLC stuff. So what you get is you get China, Silk Road, Playable Religion, Casus Belli expansion, Rally Points, Artifacts. Free features, you get a whole bunch of changes to the Middle East, and basically the whole eastern side of the map gets changed. You get a few different things going on with the different Kinslayer stuff, and you get some stuff going on with a lot of quality of life changes. That's good. Now we're moving on to balance. Everybody gets balance. That's pretty much it. Everybody gets balance. So it's similar to free features, but this is changing how existing features work. So, looter armies now only cost 10% maintenance if you are at peace. So looter armies. So if you have a set of raiders, it won't cost as much maintenance if you're at peace. So if they're a warring army, they'll cost more. If they're a looter army, they'll cost less. That's good. I guess because the idea is when you're looting, you're trying to make money, and they're just trying to make it a little bit easier. No longer possible to turn an army into a looter if you're at war. So you can't loot while you're at war. There was a thing that you could do where you could say, like, if you had a war declared, you could raise like one set of looters, one set of non-looters, and basically have them both in the same province. So your non-looters would siege it and get it for the war score, and your looters would get the money from it. That's trying to stop that, I think. But they also have compensated by lowering the cost of the maintenance cost of looters when you're at peace. So it's kind of saying you make more money when you're at peace, but don't go and try and do this glitchy tactic. I think that's fair. Greatly increased how fast the attacker's war score ticks while the target area is fully controlled. Okay, that's good. So attackers, if you control the war goal, you're going to get more war score, taking war score. I like that, actually, because you can occasionally have it where you take the war goal from like a large empire, but it's so little war score by itself that you have to wait for the ticking war score to go all the way up, or you have to siege the entire empire. It's easier to say, no, I've controlled this land for a reasonable amount of time, this is my land. I like it. It's a good change, I think. Increase the effect of fort level on the defender morale in sieges. Okay, so what they're doing, again, this is part of the buffing sieges stuff that was in the previous section. So, if you have higher fort level, you have more defender morale. Defender morale is essentially, if the defender morale hits 0, the siege is lost. So, having a better fort level have that actually affect the morale, that's really good, because it means that you can say, okay, I'm going to raise the fort level, and that's going to greatly increase how long that province is going to take to siege. If you know it's going to be a contested province, that's a good idea. Alright, sieges. Defensive pagans get a moral boost while besieged in their homelands. That's good. Well, it's kind of good and it's kind of not good. What it means is that defensive pagans, they naturally get like a boost in combat when they're in lands, and they get like attrition bonuses, I think, as well. So what this also means is it's going to take longer to siege their land. Now, their land you could just assault down previously, so you could tend to do the blitz strategy. You can't do that anymore, because they're going to have a lot more morale. It's going to take a lot longer for them to fall over, and it's going to mean that you're going to lose a lot more men if you try and assault. So it's basically saying defensive pagans are now difficult to take over. So you're going to see a lot more defensive pagans in the game kind of survive a lot longer. In theory, they're going to get more fort levels, so they're going to continue to be a problem to get into until they reform, at which point you can attack them. I think that's pretty cool. Slightly increase the base morale loss on defenders during siege. So increase the base morale loss. So what they're saying is that the base morale is going to be slightly higher. So if you have a low fort level and you're not defensive pagan, it's actually going to be a little bit quicker to get sieges. But if you invest in fort level, it's going to be actually much more difficult to take sieges. It's kind of cool. It's saying if you invest in it, you get it. If you don't invest in it, you don't. I think that's cool. Buddhist can now use the normal Holy War CB for a cost of 250 piety. I don't know what they had before, but them getting Holy Wars means it's a lot more likely that people will play them. Holy Wars is a good CB. It's a really easy one to use. 250 piety is not that much. I think that's good. Indian Holy Orders no longer exist at game start. Interesting, I wonder why. I don't know why they would have made that change. Maybe they're too strong at game start? I mean, I suppose, yeah, if you were to have Indian Holy Orders over there with the Holy Wars, you could probably do quite well. Okay. They can be created through a decision if you hold all of your holy sites along with 1000 piety, or simply by having 200 piety if the year is 1100 or later. They may be created defensively if several important counties in India fall to a non-Indian religion. So what that's saying is they don't want India with the Holy War CB just go and take over everything. You have to give up piety, which is what you use for Holy Wars. It makes sense. Okay. And they reduce the strength of them. So they must have been way too strong. I never played them, but they must have been way too strong. Indian Holy Orders also have a small amount of war elephants among their troops. So if they didn't have that before, that means that they're going to have slightly better troops, but they also reduce the strength overall. I guess that's kind of a flavor thing. I don't know. The AI will now be less inclined to use major CBs, invasions, nomad subjugation, if they won't gain much from doing so. So what they'll do is, invasions, they won't do it against like a one province person anymore. They'll be very much looking for the largest target they can get. Same with nomad subjugation, they're going to look for large targets. So if they have to give up something, they're going to get something from it. The Nomad Liberation CB can no longer be used on completely empty duchies, no castle, city or tribe in the steppe region. Okay, so you basically, previously with the Nomad Liberation CB, you could attack them and take a lot of land. Now you have to. There has to actually be a castle, city, or a tribe there. Like there has to be something for you to liberate, basically. Nomads can now always choose to convert to the attacker's religion through the decision. Okay, so if you're being attacked as a nomad, you can say, no, I'm going to join your religion, and then you're no longer nomadic, so you don't have to, so the war is invalid, I think, is how that works. That's cool, they're adding more options for nomads, which is good, because nomads are at the new side of the map. Okay. Silk Road trade posts are no longer destroyed when the county changes hands outside succession. Okay, interesting. So it's saying, like, if someone's built a trade post and the county's changed hands, the trade post just doesn't disappear, you just get it. So it can be an advantage. So you can say, like, okay, that person's built up that trade post a little bit, I want it, I want some more income, I'm going to go for it. You can now also build trade posts in your vassal's lands, though the vassal will end up its owner. That's good, I suppose. Yeah, so you can still invest on the trade post, even if you don't directly have it. So they're trying to get you to use the Silk Road more. So the Silk Road no longer gets cut off by sieges and occupation, but instead its value decreases downstream. This is what I was talking about. So, if you have a lot of sieges and occupations on a couple of the new paths of the Silk Road, the other paths will get more of the income, while these paths will get less. I think that's cool. It's kind of like trade in EU4, but much more simplified. Added an option for turning a blind eye in events ZE, whatever these are. Turning a blind eye, opinion bonuses. Are these for if you find out something about someone? So like you find out that somebody, like you find out a secret, you can turn a blind eye and you'll get an opinion bonus from them for not revealing it. Well, before you got nothing. I think those are the events. I'm not 100% sure. I could be wrong. ZE means that it's from an expansion, I think. I'm not sure. I'm not too into decisions, like the specific numbers. Anyway. Trade post wars no longer cause counties to be considered contested, which would prevent the county from being given away or similar. So trade post wars no longer cause counties to be considered contested. Okay. Okay, so basically, if you're fighting over a trade post, you can still give away the land. That's fine. Because you're not really after the province itself, you're after the trade post underneath it. So that would be important if, say you had Venice and Amalfi. They both had one. Say Venice had a trade post in your land, and then Amalfi does a war for that trade post. You can still give away that land. Because you're not in their war. You don't care about their war. Their war is between them. You're just a bystander who wants to give away your land. So that makes sense. Barons will no longer consider themselves almost as powerful as kings and emperors. Good. That means you might actually be able to use the offer vassalization option. Because right now barons will go, oh, look at me. I have all this. Although barons are underneath counts. So actually I don't know why that's interesting. That must be for other opinion things. Yeah, I was getting confused because I'm playing a mod which calls count levels barons. But no, so barons will no longer consider themselves as powerful as kings and emperors. I didn't know they did that, but I guess that makes sense. So yeah, there should be some opinion ones. So it'll be like, so it could be if you declare war on a baron, they would say, well, I'm not going to surrender, I'm strong. But now they'll no longer consider themselves strong, so they'll give in to wars more easily. Okay. Vassals who don't have at least 5% of the domain size of their liege will no longer be considered powerful vassals either. Oh, okay, so barons. Oh, so if you had a baron underneath you, they consider themselves to be real powerful as well, for the purposes of councils. Oh, okay. I also like that there are less powerful vassals, because you can get far too many in a realm, and you're like, you can't all be powerful vassals. You're all, like, so weak compared to me. So I think that's good. It also says, like, if you can have more domain size, like if you can make your domain really strong, the vassals will no longer be powerful, and you can choose your council a little bit more freely, which means that you can potentially, like, it gives a benefit to building up. It seems a lot of this is trying to give benefits to building up, like this patch. I like that, because it's trying to get you to do systems that you don't usually use. I think that's cool. You can no longer ask someone you're in a defensive pact against to embargo someone, as this would result in you ending up in the war against yourself. So if you're in a defensive pact against someone and they embargo someone, you would be in their embargo war and you would be in a war against yourself. Yeah, that's not a balance change, that's a bug fix. There's a bug fix section later. You move that to that section. You can no longer ask someone you're in a defensive pact to... Wait, I just read that one. The all gender equality rule no longer prohibits achievements, though you will not be able to gain the impressive achievement while this rule is enabled. Okay, so you can have gender equality, but you can't get the gender-specific achievements. Makes perfect sense to me, because it really doesn't change that much else in the game. Unlanded character... Well, it does actually make it a little bit easier, because you can also have more matrilineal marriages, and therefore you have more people in your dynasty, and you have more options, and you don't need sons all the time, but, you know, disregarding that, it's good. Anyway, it's fine. It doesn't matter. It's like, if you want, you can play the game the way you want to play the game. Achievements are meaningless, pretty much. Unlanded characters will no longer take the become council member ambition. Good, because why would you ever put them as one if you have a lot of powerful vassals? Although, now that you have less powerful vassals, maybe you want that to be there, because you maybe want some characters who are unlanded to have some ambition for RP purposes, but who, you know, it's again, a who cares kind of change. You can get double war score from winning battles against characters that have no land. Yeah, but also if the character doesn't have any land, if you wipe out their army, you get 100% war score. So that doesn't really matter. It just means, like, if they have enough people that you can... Yeah, if they have enough people that they don't get wiped out in a single battle, you might be able to win off that one battle. It doesn't really matter, I guess, to me. Anyway. Okay, we just read that one. We balance the Jain and Buddhist monastic orders, rank up requirements, and increase the chance of losing bad trait or gaining a good one upon completing a mission. I like this. That's good. Yeah. New conditions are not cruel, 1 virtue. Oh, so that's 2 not cruel, 1 virtue. I think that's saying. Or 3 not cruel or cynical and 2 virtues. Or 4 not cruel or cynical or any vice. Oh, wait, no, that's 3 to 4. So that's 1 to 2, you have to have no cruel and 1 virtue. To get from 2 to 3, you have to have no cruel and no cynical and 2 virtues. And to get 3 to 4, you have to have no cruel, no cynical, or any vice, and 3 virtues. Okay. That's fine. I don't know. They make a lot of changes to the Indian side of the map. I guess it's good. When falsely confessing your religion, your non-zealous courtiers have a chance of joining you in falsely converting. I think that's cool. Yeah, that means you could say, oh yeah, we're all switching. Wink, wink. It also means that your courtiers don't hate you for switching. That's good. You can no longer use the split clan interaction on a province that's currently the target of a war. That's good, I imagine that could be used for some glitchy stuff. Gifting artifacts to greedy rulers no longer gives ludicrous amounts of opinion. I don't know how much it gave, I never really noticed it. So, yeah, whatever. If you defeat someone in war, they will now get a -10 opinion modifier with you for 10 years. So, yeah, if you beat someone in a war, they won't like you. Good. I guess that makes sense. The Visigothic and Cebu culture breakup can only trigger after the year 850. I don't know why that would make much difference, but okay. Muslim holy wars now subjugate rulers in the target area similar to how Muslim invasions work, with the exception if they are another Muslim sect. Where it works... And now we have to move over, like before. Okay, so holy wars no longer just give you the land, it now gives you vassals that you have to deal with. So it's basically nerfed Muslim holy wars, which is probably because they're buffing the eastern side of the map, which is really where the Muslims holy warred. Makes a lot of sense. Reduced the opinion effects of several Muslim-only traits to avoid opinion inflation. Again, nerfing the Muslim side of the map because they're buffing the eastern side and making it interesting. They don't want you just to get instantly wiped out. Okay, I can see why they're doing it. Councillors now have a very slight bias towards yes if they have no opinion on the topic. Thank you. So, in fact, it basically means that when you have a regency, your council isn't going to go, well, actually, I don't really care, so I'm going to vote no. Because you'd be like, if you don't care, just vote with me. I don't get why you'd... Yeah, anyway. This is a rant for another day. Reduce the revolt risk and general opinion from crushing a rebellion whilst in seclusion and added a timer so that it only lasts for 2 years. I think that's the seclusion event. Yeah. Okay. So they're nerfing that event, I think. Okay, that's good. Defenders against Great Holy Wars. So will now be capped at 85% occupation war score to avoid omnis vi Roman decunt blitzing. Ah. So, yeah. So what that's saying is if you have a Great Holy War declared against you, you can't just say, I'm going to go and invade the person who declared the Holy War. I'm just going to blitz them down. I'm just going to siege their entire land. So, what it means is you have to win a battle. You have to win 15% war score worth of battles, which means you have to actually fight, which means that you have to actually beat their armies, which means that crusades, jihads, reformed pagan Great Holy Wars are now more scary if they're declared upon you. That's good, I think. Like, having crusades in Crusader Kings actually be a major thing that you have to deal with is good, in my opinion. Only independent characters can now have tributaries, with the exception of nomads. So, what they did is they made tributaries much more powerful. They made them much better, and then they nerfed the ability for everyone to get them. So you need to now be independent if you want to have a tributary. I think that's neat. So what they're saying is, yeah, you can have more powerful tributaries, but they act more similarly to vassals than they would otherwise. They're kind of similar to the vassals that you get where you can only call them in to wars. That's kind of how they're moving to tributaries. They're your vassal in all but name now, which is cool. I think that's better than how they were. The intrigue focus now provides a passive 5% plot power increase. Makes the intrigue focus a lot better. Non-Shia characters can now join the assassins and will give an opportunity to secretly convert if they are any other Muslim or non-zealous player. I think that's cool. I mean, assassins are probably a very popular sect to join, so I could see how people would want. I can see how that's a good thing now. Yeah, that's good. AI William the Conqueror will now assert more of England if he wins the invasion to help him not get overthrown so often. Yeah, okay, well, you know, you have to help out the AI every now and then. Nomads can now use a title decision to usurp counties in their sub-realms that have nomad agitation. In addition, granting you the county, this will also remove the agitation. So nomads cannot have nomad agitation. That's good. You can just say, this is now my land. Okay. Characters who have been convinced to straighten up will no longer become decadent again. So there's a little buff to Muslims. It means there's less micromanagement of your realm. So if you can convince them, if you get a positive effect, you don't have to do it again and again and again. The default decadence gain has been made uniform between tiers. It's now only realm size that affects it. That's again, I like that change. It's meaning you can't game the system so much in there. Decadence gain has been heavily reduced, but the frequency of the decadent trait has been increased for very large realms. This means it's no longer a catastrophe to have one uncle that happens to drink on the weekends. So, they've lowered the amount decadence naturally goes up, but they're making they're increasing the amount the decadent trait appears. So what they're saying is naturally decadency won't go up so much, but there will be more people with decadency you have to deal with potentially. But it's saying overall that one person's not going to make a difference. But if it's a major problem throughout all of your dynasty, it's going to be a problem. Decadence effect on positive morale has been slashed in half. So, basically, they're nerfing decadence because they want the eastern side of the map to be strong. Have we said this before? I think we have. The decadence reduction from title gains has been significantly increased. Okay, that's good. They're basically making decadence easier to deal with while also nerfing the positive effects of it. So they're making it overall a system that's less impactful and more flavorful, I think is how I'd describe it. Anyway, only characters in the same realm as the biggest realm size relative can become decadent. Makes sense, I guess? And that's usually going to be you. So yeah, it's just basically saying people will pretty much always be in your realm. Okay. Improved caste inheritance, so you're far less likely to lose correct caste for your government. That's an Indian change, because they want you to play in India again. Improved caste inheritance, so you're far less likely to loot... I don't just read that. Anyway. Heretic and religious rebels now target the duchy they spawn in when declaring war. This means that they can get ticking war score for fully occupying the titles, similar to all other rebel types. So, it means that these rebels are now a little bit stronger, because they will actually spawn in the right place. That's good, I think. Rebels generally are quite weak. Having them be a little bit more of a threat means you have to deal with them. When running with non-default provincial revolt strength game rule setting, the rebel stacks will now be attrition free, because they haven't balanced the game for that, basically. So you can't say, I'm going to run with really strong revolts, and then they'll be like, okay, well, your rebel stacks are just taking attrition because we don't change supply limit to match it. So, it's fine. I mean, it's basically just fixing the AI. The burger offers to buy land event now has a cooldown of 5 years. Good, because sometimes you could just get spammed by that and you'd be like, I don't care. The government of vassals whose land you want to build a hold the government of the vassal in whose land you want to build a holding no longer matters. You can build the castle in the county of a tribal vassal. Cool. The artifact smith events are now launched via a decision to find a smith. More events now happen in between finding a smith and getting the item. Okay. The smith's stewardship and traits will determine the outcome of the event chain. So it's good. It tells you what actually makes the event chain change, and that was in free features, I think. Owners of either Monks and Mystic or Jade Dragon will have access to smith events and new decisions, because it was added in Monks and Mystics, improved in Jade and Dragon, so you don't have to have both. That's actually really good, because Monks and Mystics, to be honest, is a DLC you can maybe skip. It's not so integral as something like Way of Life, which I think is actually like, it's something you have to be, like, to play the game normally. Monks and Mystics, it's a module you can attach to the game. While other ones feel more ingrained. Like Old Gods, you pretty much have to have in your game. You know, it's not that big a deal. I could see you only going for Jade Dragon and not Monks and Mystics. So I like that. AI improvements. There aren't that many, so we are going to look at them, but we're just going to quickly scan them. Fixed one-way AI characters that should have AI could end up with no AI. Okay. Didn't know that was a thing. In fact, most of these are going to be I didn't know that's a thing, because a lot of these are just fixes. So we're actually just going to leave that for just now. Interface. We've already read that one, so Wasteland Provinces are now shown in the terrain map mode. Guardian's going to be assigned from birth. There are no effects until age 6. Oh, okay. Yeah. I wonder if that's the same with the education events, because that you can assign them before 6 and get bonuses. Oh no. The spouse selection view now has an adults only box. Well, yeah, that's good. It should have had it to start with. Ruler designer doing the right stuff now. More explicit call to arms to now tell you if you're going to lose allies or tributaries and why. Good. I like more explicit stuff. The game has too much vagueness in it occasionally. I like it where it just tells you, here are all of the things that are going to happen. Here is why you can deal with it. There's new stuff to do with Silk Road, like trade zones. There are now new icons in it. There's new trade post graphics. End of combat dialogue now shows the correct special units rather than showing horse archers. Yeah, I did notice that. Well, that's good. That means that mods like Warhammer aren't going to be completely ridiculous, because you can actually see what these special units are without having to go into specific detail. You can see what their armies were made up of. All conditions for using a CB are now shown, even if you fulfill them. Good. So it shows when you can't. It shows why you might not be able to declare a CB in the future. You'll now get an alert if your areas of a religion you're not allowed to play. That's good for people who don't have all the DLCs. That's actually really good, because that is a game over. It's weird that you get an alert and it wouldn't just switch your religion. That seems a little bit off. I think that should just switch your religion, but I don't know. Maybe people like that challenge. I don't know. Anyway, fixed raised fleets not counting towards your max domain fleet size. Really? Raised fleets not count towards your max domain fleet size. Huh. I didn't know that was the thing. Ransom character now always defaults to the target character if they can be ransomed. Yeah. I've had so many times where that didn't happen. I don't know why that didn't happen in the first place. Improve the attrition tooltip. You can see a strength indicator of allied army entities, and you can see the coat of arms tooltip. Yeah, good. Okay. Added proper tooltips for the loot bar and settlement tax effect from a looted county. Good. Corrected text. Yes. The domain size tooltip on the character screen now shows the realm size, number of counties in the character's realm. Yeah, good. All of these are things that should have been there to start with. No longer possible to enter the multiplayer screen after exiting it without restarting the game first, as this would cause instant... forget what that stands for. Basically, it would crash. So, good, I guess. I don't play multiplayer, but good. No longer possible to select a bookmark or save after loading. Yeah, okay. Because it would also cause crashes. Ensure it is clear when occupation war score is less than 1%, not 0, since this could sometimes result in someone having 100 war score from battles and a 0% war score from occupation, 99% war score overall. Yeah, good. The marriage finder can now include characters from other religious groups if it makes sense to marry. Yes, again. These are things that should just be in the game. Like, they're adding them, but you know, they should have been in the game for a long time. I'm just going to scroll down until I see anything that's amazing. Fix the name of a known plot so it sometimes overlaps with the name of their target. Yeah, okay, I guess if you had a really long name, that could happen. Asking for your excommunication to be lifted, the Pope no longer lists his opinion of you twice in the breakdown of why he will or will not accept. Just weird that that would even be there. Society member list now includes a member count. That's good. That's just, like, that's an improvement to societies that make him actually feel like a thing and not you interacting with one character. Triggers checking for timed modifiers, lack thereof, and it will now state the expiry of time modifier if it is present. Good. It'll tell you when those things will expire. Levy tooltip now gives you a breakdown of how the reinforcement rate is determined. Now that is huge, because sometimes you're like, why am I not getting any troops? There could be a very valid reason, but it never tells you. The income overview, when having clicked a title, will now never show entries that provide no income. Except potentially your domain income. That's weird that it says except potentially. These are your patch notes. Do you not know? I don't know. Anyway. Being assigned to a subunit that is participating in a siege no longer stops commanders from being assigned to a flank. Yeah, that's good, because occasionally you could have it so that you want to say, okay, I want this commander to be on that army, and you can't select them for some reason. Probably that's one of the reasons why. Any of these these are just like add trade value to things, fixed. We're just going to skip the fixed ones here, because... yeah, in fact, we can probably move past most of interface. They put the best ones at the top. Yeah, a bunch of decadent stuff in there, some more religions, the point button, and now telling you why you can't replace a character. That's pretty good. It now tells you why. Fixed titles after dynasties named of, showing as Kingdom of. That's just amusing. It's calling people to war using the Call Allies alert, changing your position in the alerts list. I know I did that. Okay. User modding. There's only one that really matters, which is at the top here. Added an off-map power system. That's real cool. All of that is real cool. I don't know what the rest of it is. It's probably all brilliant. A lot of it is added. Look how much they added to modding to give you options. I think that's good. Database. Database are basically these are history changes. So when they fix things like that. So things like, well, some holdings that need to be there for other buildings to be there, they make sure that's right. They change where de jure capitals are. They change when different events fire, just to make it a little bit better. So that's good. Right, bug fixes. Well, we're not going to read bug fixes because there are a lot of them, but it's good that they're fixed. I'll kind of scroll through them to let you see there are a lot of bug fixes. Now, what is also really good is that they have said, you know, might be thinking, they've added all these new, like, you know, counties all over the place, they've added all these new duchies, they've added all the X, Y, and Z. Is the game gonna, like, how's the game gonna run at the same amount? Apparently, the game runs better than it did before. That's what they said, I think, in one of the dev diaries. I could be wrong about that. But I'm fairly certain they said it'll run the same, if not better. So, that's good. So if the game runs better, we've got more characters, we got more events, basically everything. This DLC seems to be just generally quality of life changes and making the bits of the game they already had better. The China stuff, it's cool. The China stuff's cool, but it doesn't matter. The China stuff's just there. It's just kind of something that's going on. It's like another bit on the map. You can ignore the China bit entirely and this would still be an amazing patch. The CBs by themselves would make this a really good patch. So hopefully it all pans out and there isn't something that's extremely broken and makes the game unfun. But, you know, I'm looking forward to playing this. I think it comes out on the 16th of November, which should be a couple of days from when this video goes out. So, yeah, I'm going to be playing it the moment it comes out. Should be a lot of fun. So, thank you for watching. If you made it this far, congratulations. Yeah, there's a lot of patch notes. My voice is slow. I will admit, I ended it slightly early because my voice is actually dying a little bit from talking non-stop. But thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.